All right, everybody, we are here for another battle report, Tabletop Life. Today we've got a sweet game, Drukhari versus Tyranids. We've got some different type of lists that we're going to be trying out. And we are here doing another US Open Games Workshop Terrain battle report. So we are doing the other table layout. If you watched our other video, this is going to be a different layout. And the deployment zone is Dawn of War. We are playing Scorched Earth. So this is if this is your first time watching the GW terrain, I'll kind of give you a quick overview of kind of how these terrain pieces work. They're full true line of sight. They're obscuring from the corners of the bases here. We put it on the acrylic bases. We actually think it's kind of cool and thematic. We like it. Looks cool. These floors are 3.5 inches tall. These ones are 5 inches tall. If you want full details, we did a terrain building video of the sizes of the bases and everything, so you could check that out. They've got forests in the corner here. So what we did in the other one, we went over kind of more in detail how the terrain is affecting us. So let's do an overview really quick of this layout. So they got these forests in the corner, and in the other layout, they basically made these lanes here -1 to hit, but in this one, they're in the corner. So like to be -1 to hit, you got to literally be sitting in this corner. So I'm not sure I know what this is or why it's here unless you like come sit in this corner to be -1 to hit. So this does not make as much sense as it did on the other layout. So let us know in the comments if you understand why these are in the corner of this layout, because I have no idea. So I'm not too sure what the design intent was for this one, like I was with the other layout. And then when we look at these, so it's Dawn of War deployment with this layout. So you've got these two big pieces of obscuring right here. Basically in the middle of your deployment zone, goes right through the middle of it. So these are about 5 inches from the back. Our bases, like we said in the other one, they're 1 inch short on this backside. So we line them up 5 inches from the back here, and it ends up being basically right in the middle of your deployment zone. So you can put guys in here, but they will be able to be seen then, from like this angle. Like if you're inside that base, you're more susceptible to being shot. If you're inside this one, you're more susceptible to being shot from this way. So starting in your deployment zone is a little risky because you can be seen a lot easier. You might have a little pocket like right here, right on the objective that you might be able to hide. But otherwise, I think you're going to see a lot of people grouping up right here along the back side because it is fully obscuring, which is going to make, a lot of armies slower to move up. And that first turn is going to be a lot of moving. But when you set up in the back here, let's look at these sight lines. So these two pieces of obscuring right here overlap each other. So you got this line right here. These overlap each other and hit each other. So you cannot shoot through this alleyway. So basically, if you are behind this at all, you are going to be safe from that angle. Now, obviously, if you step out in the middle here, in between them, you have an alleyway directly in the middle. But you're relatively safe here. And then if you look towards the outside of the board, in order to get shot, if you're behind it over here, they have to come all the way over here. So that's like, what is it? Probably a 18 to 20 inch movement to be able to get to where they can shoot you. And it's the same exact thing on the other side. The other side is actually a little less movement, but because you have the obscuring all the way from the corner here, the angle ends up being about here. So they've got to go to about the middle of the board on this side. So you're looking at about 12 inches to start to clear that, 12 to 14 inches to start to clear the back of that. So yeah, you're pretty hidden. You're not as hidden as good as the other board that we did, but it's definitely still pretty good. And then when you look towards the middle of the board, you've got this alleyway that's all the way on the board. As we saw in the other one, basically the whole middle was blocked off and you couldn't shoot. So there is a big alley there. There's a big alley right here. So there's a lot more shooting lanes in this one, but there's still a lot of places you can move and hide. You can move from here, come around this, then you can, piggyback off the middle and go to this one. So you can move all the way around the outside and stay fully hidden and obscured. But when you go in the middle, it's kind of danger zone. This one's got 6 objectives. None of them are really in the middle. There is a couple other ones where there's objectives in the middle, like here and here. And there's another ones where there's objective in the middle in between the two ruins here. So in those other 2 missions in this layout, it is going to be a little bit harder to hold all the objectives, or you're going to be in the open and be able to be shot. So I think that if you want to practice the harder GW layout, this is the harder one. And this is the one that like a mix of shooting and melee armies are going to do really, really well. And the other layout we saw, we probably would expect melee armies will strive a little bit more than the shooting armies in it. So yeah, that's the layout. We just flipped it. So we are going to go over our armies, and then we will go over our secondaries and get into it. All right, let's see what we got for the Drukhari today. Let's start over with, so I got 3 patrols. That's basically what you always end up with Drukhari. We've got 2 coven and 1 witch. The witch is going to be Cult of Strife. Going to be my warlord. We're going to be running the same witches that I'm kind of running right now, which is going to be the 14 attacks, 2 damage, mortals on 6s. Which is really good. And then my Truptych Witch, who is just there with the whip and, Whirling Death. Not going to do too much against his army, but that's what I like to run. So they're staying in. We got a Haemunculus as a character. And then we've got 3 5-man Cult of Strife Witches, all going to be strength 4 instead of strength 3. Against his big bugs, they ain't going to do much. Then for our other troops, we've got 5 5-man Wracks. And the all the coven are going to be -1 damage. I think that's the best thing you could ever take for them. A lot of people want to do, powering up your flamers with Cronos and things like that. And I really, really like the -1 damage. So that's what I have built my list around. That's what I plan on using every time I play it. So we've got a bunch of Wracks that are -1 damage, which just makes them more durable. And we've got 2 squads of Mandrakes. I really wanted to get 3 squads, but 2 squads of Mandrakes, 1 squad of bikes. I really like having the bikes for your early engage, line breaker, things like that. 3 raiders, only 3 raiders. And they are all going to be the Witch Cult. And then here's the meat of the army. We've got 3 Cronos. They're going to be the ones that are these snake guys here. And then we've got 6 Talos, 3 and 3. They're going to be rocking 2 Haywire and 1 of the assault weapons. Basically, it gives them the ability to fire and fade, which gets you some extra movement at turn 1. So it's really nice if you can move 8 inches and advance and then just get some shots off, spend the CP, move another 7 inches. You're moving anywhere between 14 and 19 inches with them, and it allows you to get a lot of board coverage. The only thing you got to be careful of is typically you don't want to outrun your Haemunculus. But my strength, my T6 versus my T7 doesn't really matter against him because all of his guns are strength 8 pretty much. So he's going to be winning me on 3s no matter what. So being around my Haemunculus isn't that important unless I need to heal him later. 3 Cronos. They're all buffed up. 6 Talos. The one thing I will point out, which we will get into if it happens, a lot of people play the Cronos to where they are healing a wound or a model back every time they kill a model. That's not how it works. So happens one time. So if I kill a model with them, I'm only gonna be able to regen a wound on a unit that I pick one time. So if I pick the same unit multiple times, it is only going to affect them once. Now I can pick 3 different units. They can all regen 1 guy or all regen a wound. Totally cool if I kill 3 models. But if I select the same unit, it's only going to do it 1 time. It's not going to do it 3 times. So that's something to just look at how it's worded and everything like that. And that's kind of the consensus that we have come up with here. So let us know in the comments if you agree or disagree with that. But that is how we believe it is supposed to be played. So that's how we are playing it. That does it for the Dark Eldar. We'll see how this list does on this terrain, and over to Price and his Tyranids.
Here's Price with Tyranids. So bringing a single battalion of Cronos, High Fleet Cronos. This is a very, very shooty list. We wanted to see what the lanes of fire are on this U.S. Open terrain. So I brought about as many guns as I possibly could to this proverbial knife fight with Brad, but I think it's going to be kind of fun. So I got 2 HQs. I got a Neurothrope. He's my Warlord. Got the Resonant Barb. That's going to give him +1 to cast. And then I got a Malanthrope for the -1 to hit bubble. I've got 3 units of Rippers. I've got a unit of 15 Devil Gaunts, so Termagants equipped with Devourers. That's 3 shots, 18 inches, strength 4 AP dash. Those are my 4 troop choices. In the elites, we've maxed this out. So I've got 3 individual lictors, 1, 2, 3. Those guys are going to be my Retrieve Octarius data guys. I've got 2 units of 6 Hive Guards, so a total of 12 Hive Guard. Lots of places to hide on obscuring terrain, and their Strength 8 guns are going to be very, very powerful in this environment. The question is, can I keep them screened from Brad's very, very fast-moving army? Then I've got a Malanthrope. This guy's get a strat that came out of the Blood of All book that allows -1 to strength for incoming shots. So if I want to clump up, Brad doesn't have a lot of shooting, but his Cronos have some. The Dark Lances, that's going to be real good for the trio of big bugs that are rounding out my heavy support. 2 Barbed Hairduels and an Exocrine. So we're looking for a Symbiostorm over here. And then because I've got 12 Hive Guard, I went ahead and took Onslaught instead of Catalyst. That may come back and bite me, but if I want to move these guys and reposition for whatever reason, I don't want to lose out on that ability to be able to move and fire without penalty. So here it is, Kronos Battalion, and we'll come back once we get the game going.
Okay, we have deployed. We'll go over secondaries first and what we kind of picked. So on Price's side, he has picked Grind Him Down, Rod. If you don't know what that is, it's the new deploy scramblers, Retrieve Octarius data, and Bring It Down. My list does give that up if he kills a lot of stuff. I'm going with Rod. I'm going to the last, which is my Kronos and both of my Talos squads. And then I'm doing Behind Enemy Lines. Behind Enemy Lines is interesting. Usually I take Engage and stuff. So we'll see how that works out. But I think it's doable. So yeah, going over our deployment. I basically just have everything behind these buildings here and everything behind these buildings here. I've got witches and Wracks inside raiders. He shouldn't be able to shoot anything over on this side besides this indirect fire. And then this side, I left these guys out in the open. I couldn't really hide everything. So I just kind of minimized the shooting, what he could put into them. I think it'll be okay. So yeah, that's my deployment. And then Price, what do you got on your side?
So over here, I really just kind of spread out. Brad's going to go everywhere. These big hero duels, they're good. They're pretty good in combat. They got 4 attacks, a lot of damage. So I'm going to try and push those guys up on those middle objectives and see. I'm assuming I'm going to get charged, so I'm probably going to be shooting into combat at -1, but we'll see how it goes. He doesn't want to stay in combat with those guys a lot. Ultimately, I feel like he's going to wear them down. Hive Guard are back here. I just kind of spread out. I've got a little bit of Synapse on this side. There's my Warlord with Symbiostorm. I got a couple of units that are in range of him to be able to cast. And then the Exocrine's in the middle. I could potentially push him up and try and get line of sight on those 2 middle objectives to try and help out using his handy-dandy little strat. And then the Devil Gaunts are hiding here in the corner. Also got the Rippers hiding in here. I've got 1 sneaky Lictor on the board. And so hopefully he can pull off some actions if he doesn't get picked off. And then second unit Hive Guard, the Malanthrope over here casting some Shrouding Spores. And then put the Malanthrope over on this side. So we'll see how it goes. One interesting thing that came up with this deployment. So the Hero Duel is the fastest unit in my army at 8 inches. And that objective is just outside of 8. It's 8 1/4. So the only thing I could do is, so I deployed so that I can reach this terrain to try and knock off that obscuring. But I can't get to that objective with anything unless I either advance the Devil Gaunts or advance this guy and give up my shooting. So it's just an interesting note on this particular board. Brad, of course, he can move 8 inches, but he's got assault weapons on his guys, and then he could also fire and fade. So there's lots of ways for him to get up there. And then, of course, Raiders move 14. They can kind of go where they want. So we'll see you guys after the coin toss, and then come back for turn 1. Here we are, Tyranids, turn 1. So Brad has a relic that allows him to advance and charge, or he basically advances power from paying for a turn. So I didn't encroach upon this. I just kind of moved up with both of these guys. I've got my tail stuck out so I can get some pot shots at this Kronos squad. But that's really all I've got. We advanced these guys up, tucked them in the hole, moved the Malanthrope to get my Shrouding Spore bubble in here. These guys remain stationary. I did retrieve Octarius data with a Lictor. Move this guy up, but there's really nothing he can see. Brad did a great job of hiding, so there's nothing. So I just moved him up to kind of get in position for next turn. This guy, I went ahead and advanced him all the way up. There's less on this side of the table, so I feel a little more confident. I'm in here. I still can't see back there. As you can tell, the line of sight on this is crazy. And then I ran up and claimed the objective with the Rippers. And so got the Hive Guard back here. I did cast Symbiostorm from my Warlord on these guys. So I'm going to do some pot shots across the table. Let's see if I can put some dudes on the ground. Here we are. We're at the end of Tyranids turn 1. So Big Papa popped off with Pathogenic Slime into these guys over here. And he brought one guy down and wounded the other one. And in conjunction with this Hive Guard squad, which I went ahead and used Single-Minded Annihilation to fire twice at these guys. But with a combination of weird rolls on both sides, we wound up, one guy has one wound left, and the other guy is full. And then over on this side, the Hive Guard, they shot back here, and they did a few wounds on one of these guys. So all in all, it was a big investment on the Tyranid part for not a lot of return. However, this is his While We Stand. So, and it's also, bring it down for me. So I got to focus on these dudes to deny Brad points and gain points for myself. So we'll come back on Dark Eldar movement.
All right, so this movement phase and this turn is actually just going to be pretty quick. I'm just going to have some very little to do. So I moved up here. I healed this guy for flat 3, which is really good. So he's on 4 wounds now. Cronos are up there too. We're basically setting up for a next turn move and advance to charge. I don't really like that I'm separated over here with these guys, but I have to put pressure on both sides. So we're just up here. Bikes are there to hopefully get behind enemy lines. I'm not going to get any behind enemy lines this turn, but the Mandrakes went up. I got Wracks up. I got Bikes there. He can't really screen me too well. So I should be able to start getting behind enemy lines next turn and hopefully just get it for the next 4 turns. I rolled a 1 to advance these guys out of the boat. I had to re-roll it to get a 5. I got on the objective just to take him off it so he doesn't have more. He's going to pick up 10 on the primary. The goal is that I'm just going to pick up 10 in return on primary. And then we're just staying kind of cagey. Because his big bugs are over certain wounds, I just have to be able to see them. Obscuring doesn't matter. So all 3 of my raiders are set up to be able to see this bug here. And then what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to fire and fade it to put it further behind this ruin. Make it to where he's not going to really be able to get a charge on me. If he wants to kill me, I'm going to make sure that I'm within disembarking from here so that I could put a OBSEC body on there. So yeah, that's the plan. Let's get shooting. We're just going to have our 3 Dark Lances to shoot. All right, the quickest turn in existence. Dark Lances shot. I did exactly what I said I was going to do in Fire and Fade here. Only 1 Dark Lance wounded. He saved it with a 5 up. Literally did nothing. So we're just going to sit here and he's going to do some shooting into me. And we'll see how I survive. Score, very low. So he's going to pick up 10 going into his turn on the primary. We both did our first rod. And then he got 1 point for Bring It Down right now because he killed the 1 Talos. No behind enemy lines, and obviously that gets done later. So yeah, on to top of 2.
Here we are. So we moved the Hierodule up, and then we moved the Maleceptor up, and there was no reason to cast Onslaught, but I did cast Psychic Power and smite this Raider back here. I'm on the actual ruin here on the base, so I can see through it. Move this guy up so that any shooting that happens, those random Dark Lances are going to be -1. Left these guys alone, just kind of waiting to see what happens. These guys sat still, but we're holding that objective. This guy, he sat still. He's got a target over here, so we're going to try and do some shooting here. Now, Brad did move up on the other side of this wall, so it's possible this guy can run in and do some punching. So we'll see. And then the Lictor, he ran all the way over here. I'm going to try and do ROD next turn, possibly with him or maybe someone else. From reserves, this Lictor came in He was in deep strike. And then this guy stayed still. I didn't feel like I needed to push him up because he needs to come to me. So I'm going to see if I can whittle this unit down with some shooting. I did cast some Biostorm on this guy. Probably going to do Pathogenic Slime, get it up to 3 damage. See if I can't thin this unit down. They got a lot of attacks, and they generate mortal wounds. And then I brought this unit to represent as backup. He's got witches over here, so if he kills these guys, then I'll be able to jump back on that with some OBSEC. So we're going to do our shooting, and then we'll come back at the end of that, and maybe even the fight phase. All right, here we are. We're at the end of the assault phase. As you can see, the hero duel is up here. Brad, we talked about this, and Brad realized he got a little bit too close to this wall. That was probably a strategic error on his part because he wanted to control the charge, but that allowed me to charge him through that wall. After shooting with a Hive Guard and shooting with the hero duel, I was able to kill 2 of 3 guys over here. I was able to fire twice with these Hive Guard, and I was able to pick up the Reaver jet bikes. So I shot the Exocrine at this unit of Wracks that were on this objective. So that scored me 1, 2 kills. And then I was not able to kill this unit back here, but I've got them both down to 1 model. He swung back, did a couple mortal wounds to me. And we are getting ready to go into Brad's turn. So we'll come back.
Okay. So he's got a lot of shooting and a lot of indirect fire. And I made mistakes by being close to the walls. I just gave him a lot of free stuff. I'm sad that I don't have a full squad of Talos right now. That's the unfortunate thing. So we're just going to stay on this objective. We healed this guy over here. We backed out. We spent the CP so I could charge. We're coming up into the middle with this Talos. The Cronos are going all the way up here. I've got to put some pressure on and start holding some stuff. Wracks came out to deal with this guy just because I just don't want him sitting here. So whatever. Succubus came out. We're going to try to do some mortals. We're going to try to weaken this big guy with some dark lances. I've taken this objective from him. The Succubus has come out. We've ignored the model to advance over him. We're just going to hopefully go kill a bunch of Termagants. And then we're going to try to charge into these guys so then they can't shoot me next turn. And Mandrakes came down here to do my second rod. So yeah, we've got some shooting. We're going to try to take out a big monster. He killed 2 things on grind, so I just need to kill 2 things. So hopefully I can kill a big monster and I can kill his Lictor, and I could deny him that. The Talos, super unfortunate. But we're going to try to mitigate his shooting as much as possible for next turn. And we'll see how it goes. All right, so the end of the fight phase, I charged in with everything into this big boy here. Succubus went into the Termagants or Hormagants? Termagants back here. I ended up getting 9 extra attacks, so I had 16 attacks, which is pretty sweet. Not enough to kill them. They're fearless, so it's fine. It's worth taking them down. I made this charge here just to get my movement. Tag these guys so they can't shoot, which is really important. I tagged both of these characters just to slow down his movement and prevent him from, doing anything. He's got to stay in there if he wants to do psychic powers, which is fine. Succubus moved then out there. I got Talos and Cronos there. I put some Wracks all the way up here just to be OBSEC on there. Price is still going to be on 3 objectives. Succubus went over here. He interrupted. He should have killed this guy. I had like 9 5-ups that I had to make. And I missed 3 of them. So I made 6 of them. And I lived with 1 mortal. Killed this guy back here. So yeah, overall, pretty good turn for me. It's pretty much what I wanted to do. I couldn't have asked for anything else. So the score at the end of that, I killed 2 things, just enough. So I'm going to deny him his grind. He did do his second rod, so he's up to 4 points there. He got 3 more for bring it down, so he's up to 4 there. I did my second rod, and I got 4 for behind enemy lines. And he's going to get 10 on his primary. So right now, it's basically an even game. But while we stand, we fight, I'm probably going to lose 1 to 2 of them right now because he just had too much free shooting in those first 2 turns. I needed to take some of his shooting away a turn earlier. So yeah, let's go to Prices 3.
Here we are. We're at the end of the Psyche phase, turn 3 Tyranids. I left this guy in combat. I did a smite on these Wracks. I killed 3 of 4 because I rolled a super smite. He gets +1 to cast on his psychic powers. He's got 11 wounds, not 1. He took a wound when these guys came in and swung on him. Fell back from combat here. I stayed in combat here. I'm just trying to hold this raider in position so that it doesn't necessarily fly over here and charge the second squad. Looks like I'm collapsing a little bit on the back end, but I'm going to try and do some shooting. This guy ran over here. He's hiding. I dropped in here just to make ROD a little bit harder on Brad. For this turn, he's got units in reserve. So I've kind of got this board edge blocked out. Moved him up so I can get line of sight on this guy, but also I can go downtown if I need to try and pick up some more of my big game hunters here. So we're going to see if I can kill a couple of the Kronos or the Talos, actually. Kill the last 2 Talos. Wrap that up to block Brad on his While We Stand, or at least 10 points of that. He's doing a good job of blocking me on Grind It Down, so we're kind of trading that one out. But we'll see what we've got next. This last Lictor, he came in over here, and he picked up ROD in this quarter, so the only one I've got left is in this zone. So we'll come back after the shooting and the charge phase. All right, here we are. We're at the end of the Tyranids assault phase. It was a slap fest over here. He did 1 wound to me, nothing back to him. Over here, I killed that last Wrack in combat, and then he swung with these guys. I failed all my saves. He had some double damage in there, so he did a total of 5 wounds, so I'm down to 6. I am degraded in the middle tier, but that doesn't matter much on these guys. The Exocrine, he did some shooting, and he knocked down this one, was that a Talos? Yeah. Knocked down that Talos to 1 wound, left him on 1 wound. The Hive Guard back here, their first round of shooting, they picked up the Talos hiding behind this wall. But because this guy had 1 wound left, I decided to go all in with a hero duel, went downtown, and it took it to kill him. Brad made some good saves. I forced him to make 5 saves, and so it went through. And then we spent my last 2 command points to fire these guys again with single-minded annihilation. We had a little discussion. How good are Hive Guard at killing raiders? Well, on average, they do about 8 wounds, we figure. With Symbiostorm, which went off on these guys, if I roll hot, then it's good. If I don't, well, then it lives. So I decided to pick up the Haemunculus, or at least target the Haemunculus, who was hiding back here. And I rolled real hot. 14 hits, 4 explosions. It was amazing. And then Brad failed a bunch of saves. That guy died. We rolled it out, and I would have blown up a raider. I was thinking about possibly parking this one back here just to kind of get him on the ground. But as it is, it was a good turn. That's 2 of Brad's While We Stand units. I killed 4 units towards Grind, and I did my 3rd ROD over here. So we're going to go into Brad's turn, and then we'll come back.
Okay, so movement. Came out of the raider here. You know, I brought these guys down price in the crater like an absolute idiot.
I mean,
so,
yeah.
With
their native -1 to shooting, put them in the crater, so it's harder. Good job.
I don't
Good
even
job.
know.
Good job.
So yeah, we're just coming up here. We're going to try to attack this. Staying in combat here, we're going to try to shoot him to death, and then maybe we'll be able to charge something else. We'll see. The raider's going to fall back and be able to charge, so we're going to be going to try to touch these guys. Then I've got some witches coming out of a raider up here. So I'm just going to kind of touch everything, move everything around. I'm kind of giving up this whole quarter over here, which is kind of unfortunate, but I'll show you on that side really quick. We're just kind of holding here, hiding as best we can. I wanted to go and kill these guys so that I could take them off the objectives and put them down to 5 primary, but I have to do my rod. I can't chance like not being able to get here or something, or him getting lucky and my plan going to absolute crap. So we're just going to let him have the 10 on the primary, and we're just going to accept our fate. The terrain is interesting. I'll mention that really quick. I mean, on this layout, he's able to get a lot of shooting. His indirect fire helps him a lot, but there's a lot of angles and stuff with the big monsters. So like he's able to shoot a lot of stuff every turn. It is not even close as line of sight blocking as that other table. You've got to have durable units that can move across this table, and shooting is going to definitely be very good. So that's my thoughts so far on this layout. And we'll go into some punching and fighting, and then we'll be back.
The Malanthrope here, okay, whose weapon skill 5 because he's degraded. It's on the middle tier. He swung into these guys. 3 hits, 3 wounds, and it's D6 damage because it's massive Silent Talons. And so, just joking around, we were looking for some high damage here, and here we go. 2-2-2, which goes down to a 1-1-1. So we wind up not doing a whole lot. So just a little quick funny moment, and moving on.
Okay, so what we did in the charge phase here is this guy lived with 1 wound. I needed him to die. This allowed him to get grind. I killed 3 other units. This would have been the 4th to take the grind away from him. I should have thought about that, and I probably should have just rerolled all my wounds, and it might have come up a little bit better for sure because I did hit with everything. So unfortunately, I only had 2 go through, failed them, so 4 damage. I should have done it. I cleaned up the OBSEC here, which has passed some morale with a 4. Yeah, I killed some of these guys. They're hard to kill, though, for me. Looking for 5s is definitely hard. My Raider did touch over here, so, I put a lot of his shooting out. I took this objective from him, but I gave up both of these objectives. So he's still going to get 10 on the primary. Let's look at the score here. Whoop, 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 whoop. So he's at 30 on the primary right now. We're both getting 10 each turn. He's going to get 3 for grind. He's got his 3rd rod. He's going to definitely max that out. I'm pretty sure he's going to get it this turn. And then bring it down. He got more. He's up to 6 on bring it down. So he's trucking away at that. And then I got my 3rd rod, and I got 4 more for behind enemy lines, but I'm down to 5 on while we stand, we fight. So, these secondaries are going to come in pretty close here, and we'll go into 4 for price.
End of the Tyranid turn. So, as you could see, this side of the board is very, very dead. Basically the Succubus went to town, and she picked up a whole bunch of these guys, and then over here, the other Succubus, heroic intervened, and then did mortal wounds, took his last wound off. We had some fun moments where we were swinging and missing, though, with the Malanthrope. Weapon skill 4 is just brutal, and then degrading down to 5. It was just real hard. This guy, he shot into combat and blew up that truck. And then back here, this guy came in and knocked the last wound after these guys swung, blew this up. These guys fell out. And then this dude, he moved back and could just get line of sight on these witches, so was able to shoot them down. So I'm at the end of my turn. I'm still sitting on 3 objectives. We got lots of witches that are coming in over here on Brad's turn. So he's going to try and come in, kill me off of here. These guys are going to come in, try and kill me off of here. So it's going to be interesting. I'm fading fast, but it's been a great game so far. So we'll come back at the end of Brad's movement.
All right, so we came in with everything here, killed the big guy with my Succubuses. I charged this guy just because, they're going to get the smites. It's fine. Mandrakes picked up the guys here. Witches picked up the guys there. So I put him down to a single objective. So he's probably going to hunt these guys and see if he can get them. But that's okay. I took him off of grinds, but he's going to get 3 more for bring it down. And he is in the position right now. He's going to get his last rod. He's got a Lictor over there to get it. He has been denying me rod here. I don't know that I can get it. He's probably going to be able to pick up the 2 units that can. So I don't think I'm going to get that one. He's got a chance of denying me some points here. And then we'll see what I get on primary in the last turn. All right, so these last turn happened. We scored it up here. You can see that it was very, very tight game. Price ended up getting 3 on grind. If he would have picked up any more of that, it would have been really, really good in his favor. He was able to do really good on rod and bring it down. And every time he's getting bring it down, it's taking away my while we stand, we fight. And he denied me my rod. So he did a really good job there. He couldn't stop my primary, and me putting him down to 5 on the last turn there. So this really came down to the last turn. One thing went in either person's favor, the game would have changed to 1. So Dark Eldar pulled out with 83 to the Tyranids 80. He had a really, really tough list, a lot of indirect fire shooting, just picking me up as I'm moving across the board, and he was able to get ahead and pull out a lot of points. Showing the kind of end here. I'm just kind of on all the objectives. I got some witches, some Succubus back there. They're just running amok. So yeah, we're just here. doing things. My thoughts on this terrain layout is it's definitely more beneficial for a lot of shooting. You have to cross this big gap. I don't even know how big this is. So this is it's about a 9-inch gap in the middle that you have to make it across if you have a melee army. So, you can move across it. You can charge if they're close to the walls. Price stayed an inch away from the walls to make it so I couldn't do it with my big things. So yeah, it's definitely a harder board to move across than the other layout that we did, which is interesting. So building something that is an all fighting army between these two boards is not going to be beneficial for you. You got to have a super solid mix. Price, this is your first time playing on this. What are your thoughts on this terrain and everything?
So very interesting. When Brad and I talked about this game, normally I wouldn't take 2 units of Hive Guard, but he told me how much line of sight blocking there was, and we both agreed let's try it out with as much indirect fire as possible. It came in handy. Obviously, always the problem with those guys, combined with the speed of Dark Eldar, is getting over there and getting touched. And so, but as far as the terrain goes, I mean, just being down here, you can't see across the table. He was able to hide from me. I had a lot of direct fire shooting, and it just was real hard to get line of sight. Also, the big bugs, they struggled to move around. I mean, this guy basically moved up to middle of the table, and I couldn't get far enough around either way to make a difference. So he just kind of sat here and shot down the alley all game, going back and forth, trying to clear off whatever's objective. So it's a lot more cover than it looks like on paper, which is good. Not having windows in these walls means I can't just walk up here and touch it and negate your cover. So that's pretty powerful. These little buildings, they do have windows, but the big ones don't. So that was something that's very interesting and different from some of the other tables and tournaments we've played in. But all in all, I think it was good. It was a fun game. Appreciate it. And if Brad didn't say so, remember, like, subscribe, share the video if you enjoyed it. Give us a comment and below. Let us know your thoughts on the list, on the table, the terrain, and any other suggestions you have. You guys take care.